They had fame, fortune, and flawless Hollywood images. But behind the cameras, some were hiding secrets that could destroy everything. Secret children, denied paternity, DNA bombshells, courtroom battles, and shocking betrayals buried for years. Tonight, celebrity family secrets are finally coming into the light, and some will leave you speechless. Number 1. Drake. Drake had mastered the art of controlling his image until one diss track exposed the secret he hadn't shared with the world. In May 2018, Pusha T dropped the story of Adidon and delivered a Hollywood-level shock reveal: Drake had a son. His name was Adonis Graham, born in October 2017, to French artist Sophie Brousseau. Overnight, a private family story became one of hip-hop's biggest scandals. The reveal hit hard because Drake had never publicly introduced himself as a father. According to later reporting, a paternity test in early 2018 confirmed he was Adonis's dad. But before Drake could tell that story on his own terms, Pusha T turned it into ammunition. Social media exploded. Headlines spread worldwide. Suddenly, the superstar, famous for emotional honesty in his music, was being accused of hiding the most personal part of his life. Weeks later, Drake answered, not with another vicious diss, but through Scorpion. He explained that his silence wasn't about being ashamed of Adonis. He wanted to protect his son from the chaos surrounding his fame. And over time, that explanation began to feel more personal. Drake slowly opened the door, sharing photos, basketball moments, artwork, birthdays, and eventually bringing Adonis into his public world. What began as a humiliating public reveal became something unexpectedly touching. The child once dragged into a rap war grew into one of the most visible sources of joy in Drake's life. Adonis has appeared beside his father at major events and even in his music. Pusha T may have forced the secret into the spotlight, but the real twist was what happened afterward. Drake didn't run from fatherhood. He grew into it. Number 2. Chris Brown. Chris Brown was already one of R&B's most controversial superstars when a private revelation detonated across Hollywood. In March 2015, the world learned he had a baby girl named Royalty with model Nia Guzman. Even more shocking, said Brown himself had only discovered he was the father months after Royalty was born. His girlfriend, Karrueche Tran, was blindsided as the story exploded online. Within hours, the scandal became personal. Karrueche publicly walked away, making it clear she wanted no part of the drama. But while one relationship collapsed, another was just beginning. Brown soon shared his first photos of Royalty, proudly calling the little girl his twin. The child nobody outside his circle knew about suddenly became the most important new face in his life. Inside a Houston courtroom months later, fatherhood became a legal battle. Nia Guzman and Brown fought over custody and financial support until a judge granted them joint custody in September 2015. The headlines were brutal, but Brown kept moving closer to his daughter, eventually naming his 7th studio album Royalty, turning a shocking revelation into part of his public identity. Years later, the biggest twist is not how Royalty entered the spotlight, but what happened afterward. She became a constant presence beside her father, appearing in family moments, public events, and social posts. For a star whose life had been defined by chaos and controversy, fatherhood revealed something unexpectedly tender. Royalty began as a bombshell. She became something far more powerful, a reason for Chris Brown to show the world a different side of himself. Number 3. Eddie Murphy. In 2006, Eddie Murphy seemed untouchable. He was a Hollywood powerhouse, the face of blockbuster comedies, and one of the most recognizable stars on the planet. Then his romance with Spice Girls singer Melanie Brown collapsed in public. Months later, Mel B gave birth to a baby girl named Angel Iris Murphy Brown on April 3, 2007, Eddie Murphy's own birthday. But instead of a joyful announcement, the story exploded into a paternity scandal. The tension had already gone public before Angel was born. During a television interview, Murphy said he wouldn't know if the baby was his until a blood test proved it. Mel B was stunned. She insisted Murphy was the father, placed his name on Angel's birth certificate, and pushed for DNA testing. Suddenly, one of Hollywood's funniest men was at the center of a deeply personal battle playing out in front of millions. Then came the result that changed everything. A DNA test confirmed Eddie Murphy was Angel's biological father. Mel B later filed a petition to legally establish paternity and seek child support. Murphy eventually acknowledged Angel and said through his representative that he would honor his responsibilities as her father. The question that had fueled months of headlines finally had an answer. But behind the headlines was a little girl who never asked to become part of a celebrity showdown. Years later, the story feels less like gossip and more like a reminder of what fame can do to private pain. Angel entered the world surrounded by doubt cameras and courtroom tension. Yet her identity was never the scandal. The real shock was how quickly love, fame, and trust could collapse when one DNA result forced Hollywood to face the truth. Number 4. Diddy. Sean Diddy Combs had built an empire around power, luxury, and the image of a devoted family man. But in 2006, one secret threatened to tear that picture apart. While his longtime partner Kim Porter was pregnant with their twin daughters, another woman, Sarah Chapman, gave birth to Diddy's daughter, Chance Combs. Kim did not learn the full truth from the man she had spent years building a family with. The revelation hit like a Hollywood betrayal written for the screen. What made the situation even more painful was the timing. Kim was preparing to welcome twins Delilah and Jesse, while Diddy was privately dealing with the existence of another baby born only months earlier. The secret was no longer just about infidelity. It was about trust. One family was celebrating new life, while another child was quietly entering the same complicated family tree. Kim later told Essence that learning about the other child contributed to the collapse of her trust in Diddy. In 2007, after more than a decade of an on-and-off relationship, she left for good. She packed up the house and moved forward with her children. The glamorous couple fans had watched for years was finished, and behind the breakup was a truth Diddy could no longer keep contained. But Chance was never the betrayal. She was a child born into circumstances she did not choose. As the years passed, Diddy brought her openly into the Combs family alongside her siblings. After Kim's death in 2018, that blended family grew even closer. The shocking reveal had once fractured a relationship, yet the children eventually became part of something larger, proving that even after trust collapses, family can still find a way to rebuild. Number 5. Snoop Dogg. For years, America knew Snoop Dogg as more than a rap legend. He was the laid-back superstar who proudly showed off his wife Shante Brawadus and their children, even turning family life into reality television. But outside that picture was another son many fans barely knew existed. His name was Julian Corey Brodus, born in 1998 from Snoop's relationship with Laurie Holmond. That polished family image became more complicated when Julian's story reached the public. While Corda Cordell and Corey appeared beside their famous father, Julian grew up largely away from the cameras. In 2008, when Snoop's reality series, Snoop Dogg's Fatherhood, was putting his home life on television, a young Julian reportedly said he wanted the chance to know his father's family. Suddenly, the boy missing from the screen became part of the story. What made the revelation hit harder was the contrast. Snoop had built a warm public identity around fatherhood, yet Julian was living outside the family portrait millions of viewers recognized. There was no explosive DNA showdown like some celebrity scandals. The emotional punch came from something quieter. A son carrying one of hip-hop's most famous names while trying to understand where he belonged. Today, Julian is openly recognized as one of Snoop Dogg's 4 children. Snoop has also spoken proudly about the responsibility he feels as a father and grandfather. But Julian's early story still carries a powerful lesson. Sometimes the biggest Hollywood reveal is not a secret exposed in court. It is the person who was missing from the family picture all along. Number 6. Ludacris. A courtroom, not a red carpet, delivered one of the most unexpected turns in Ludacris's carefully polished family story. In December 2013, the rapper and Fast and Furious star welcomed a daughter, Kai Bella Bridges, with Tamika Fuller. The news quickly became public through a child support dispute, pulling a deeply private chapter of his life into headlines at a moment when his Hollywood career was still soaring. Instead of ending with financial support, the conflict grew far more intense. Fuller sought custody while Ludacris fought for a larger role in his daughter's life. What followed was a bitter family court battle filled with competing claims about money parenting and who could provide the most stable home. Suddenly, the entertainer known for jokes, music, and blockbuster movies was facing a fight no movie script could solve. Then came the shock ruling. In January 2015, a judge awarded Ludacris primary physical custody of 1-year-old Kai, while both parents retained legal rights. The decision surprised many who had followed the case and instantly changed the public narrative. Ludacris was no longer simply defending himself against support claims. He was leaving court with primary responsibility for raising his daughter. Years later, Sai is no longer a child, associated mainly with courtroom headlines. She appears openly beside her father, stepmother, Eudoxie, and sisters, including at major family milestones. Ludacris now proudly describes himself as a father of 4 daughters. What began as a celebrity scandal ultimately became something far more human. A little girl moving from the center of a legal war into a family where she is publicly celebrated and loved. Number 7. Bow Wow. Long before most kids had their first job, Bow Wow was already famous. By his early teens, Shad Moss had Platinum Records movie roles, screaming fans, and cameras tracking his every move. Then in 2011, the former child star dropped a revelation nobody expected. He was a father. His daughter, Shay Moss, had been born to dancer Joy Chavis, and for months, Bow Wow had kept fatherhood out of the spotlight. Fear not embarrassment was at the center of his confession. In a personal message to fans, Bow Wow admitted he had been nervous about how people would judge him. He also explained that growing up famous had taken away many normal childhood experiences, and he did not want cameras invading his daughter's life the same way. The superstar who had spent most of his youth being watched suddenly wanted privacy for someone he loved. Fatherhood also reached him at a much darker emotional moment. Bow Wow revealed that before Shay entered his life, he had struggled with feeling lost and without purpose. Her arrival changed that. He described her as something greater than money, cars, or fame, saying she inspired him to work harder and helped him mature almost overnight. Years later, the baby he once protected from public attention has built a spotlight of her own. Shay has appeared on Nickelodeon, acted, danced, and shared playful moments with both parents online. Bow Wow now speaks openly and proudly about watching her grow. The real shock was never that he had a daughter. It was that the child he once feared introducing to the world became one of the clearest reasons he learned to embrace life beyond fame. Number 8. 50 Cent. Success had turned Curtis "50 Cent" Jackson into one of hip-hop's ultimate survivors, but fatherhood exposed a side of him money could never manufacture. In 2012, he welcomed his second son, Sire Jackson, with model Daphne Joy. Unlike the explosive celebrity paternity scandals surrounding other stars, Sire's arrival unfolded quietly, away from the kind of headlines that followed nearly every move his famous father made. Everything changed once Sire stepped into public view. 50 Cent began proudly sharing photos of the boy, and by age 2, Sire was already generating headlines of his own. In 2015, 50 revealed that his son had landed a modeling agreement with children's headphone company Kids Safe, reportedly worth $700,000. The toddler suddenly had a payday bigger than many adults could imagine. Yet behind those smiling photos was a striking family contrast. 50's relationship with his older son, Marquise Jackson, had deteriorated into years of public arguments and painful accusations. While Sire appeared beside his father at events and across social media, Marquise openly discussed feeling abandoned. One father, two sons, and two dramatically different relationships turned the Jackson family into a story far deeper than celebrity wealth. For 50 Cent, Sire became more than another famous last name. Cameras captured a softer man cheering for his son and speaking proudly about his future. The rapper who built an empire by surviving everything now seemed determined to protect a bond he deeply valued. The real reveal was not that 50 Cent had another child. It was seeing how one little boy could bring out a tenderness the world rarely saw from hip-hop's toughest survivor. Number 9. Floyd Mayweather Jr. Inside the ring, Floyd Mayweather Jr. built his legend by never losing. But in September 2010, the toughest moment in the Mayweather family happened far from any arena. His 10-year-old son, Coraun, witnessed a violent confrontation between Floyd and his mother, Josie Harris, inside their Las Vegas home. What happened next put a child in a position no child should ever face. Terrified, Coraun escaped the house, climbed over a gate, and found a security guard to call police. According to court records, 2 of Mayweather's children witnessed the attack. Floyd later pleaded guilty to reduced domestic battery charges involving Harris and received a 90-day jail sentence. The undefeated champion suddenly faced consequences no boxing record could erase. Years later, the emotional damage was still visible. Mayweather maintained that he had been trying to restrain Harris, but Coraun publicly challenged his father's version of events and criticized him for refusing to take responsibility. The boy who once ran for help had grown old enough to speak for himself. For fans, it was a painful contrast between the fearless fighter celebrated in arenas and the father his own son remembered differently. Coraun's story was never about being a hidden child. It was about a child forced into an adult nightmare. Floyd could defend titles, make millions, and retire undefeated, but fatherhood kept a different scoreboard. On that night, the bravest person in the Mayweather house may have been the frightened 10-year-old who ran outside and asked someone to save his mother. Number 10. Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson had survived brutal fights, prison addiction, and the darkest chapters of fame. Yet none of it prepared him for the phone call that came in May 2009. His 4-year-old daughter, Exodus Tyson, had been found unconscious at her mother's home in Phoenix after becoming tangled in a cord attached to a treadmill. Tyson was in Las Vegas when he learned what had happened. He immediately flew to Arizona. May 26 brought the news every parent fears. After doctors placed Exodus on life support, she died from her injuries. Police described the incident as a tragic accident. Her 7-year-old brother had discovered her and alerted their mother, who called 911 and tried desperately to revive her. The little girl, who neighbors remembered as friendly, playful, and full of affection, was suddenly gone. Nothing inside a boxing ring could match that kind of pain. Tyson had spent decades being marketed as the baddest man on the planet, a fighter capable of terrifying almost anyone standing across from him. Grief stripped that image away. Years later, when he spoke publicly about Exodus during his one-man show, Tyson admitted the memories could still hurt deeply. The champion who once seemed indestructible was revealing a wound no victory could heal. What makes Exodus's story unforgettable is not celebrity scandal. It is the devastating reminder that fame offers no protection from loss. Tyson could survive punches that would drop other men, but he could not save his daughter. Her death became one of the most painful chapters of his life, exposing something far more powerful than the fighter audiences once feared: a grieving father, carrying the memory of a little girl he would never get to watch grow up. Number 11. T.I. T.I. built a second career around being a protective father. Then one podcast confession turned that image into a national controversy. In 2019, the rapper said he accompanied his teenage daughter, Deja Harris, to gynecologist visits and asked doctors to check her hymen as proof of virginity. The backlash was immediate, with doctors and advocates stressing that such examinations cannot determine whether someone has had sex. For Deja, the scandal was painfully personal. Months later, on T.I. and Tiny Friends and Family Hustle, she revealed that she discovered the story while scrolling through Twitter. She described feeling shocked, angry, embarrassed, and uncomfortable around her father. She also said the experience felt traumatizing and questioned why different rules seemed to apply to her brothers. Public outrage forced T.I. to confront something fame could not hide. He later apologized for embarrassing his daughter and acknowledged that his intentions did not erase the damage. The controversy changed the way audiences viewed his strict parenting style, turning what he presented as protection into a larger debate about privacy, trust, and a young woman's control over her own body. Years later, the story carries a more emotional twist. In 2026, T.I. reflected on the incident and said he had learned to listen more as a father, especially with his daughters. Deja was never the scandal. She was the young woman forced to endure one publicly. And perhaps the most important reveal was not what happened at a doctor's office, but what her father eventually had to learn: protecting your child also means respecting their voice. Number 12. Jay-Z. Few names carry more power in hip-hop than Jay-Z. But for years, one unresolved claim has followed the billionaire mogul like a shadow. Rymir Satterthwaite has long alleged that Jay-Z, born Sean Carter, is his biological father, saying his late mother, Wanda, had a relationship with the rapper in the early 1990s. The claim ignited a legal fight that refused to disappear. At the center of Rymir's battle was one demand: a DNA test. He and his former guardian pursued the issue through multiple courts, arguing that paternity had never been properly resolved. Jay-Z has consistently denied the allegations, while his attorneys have called the claims fabricated and repeatedly rejected by courts. No DNA test has ever confirmed that Jay-Z is Rymir's father. Then came the legal blow. In November 2025, a California federal judge dismissed the remaining case with prejudice, preventing that lawsuit from being filed again. In January 2026, the court also ruled that Jay-Z was entitled to recover nearly $120,000 in legal fees and costs from Rymir's former guardian. Legally, the battle suffered a devastating ending, but the paternity question itself was never answered by DNA. That uncertainty is what makes this story so haunting. Rymir has insisted his fight was about identity, not celebrity money. Jay-Z maintains the allegations are false. Between them sits a question that years of headlines, lawyers, and court filings never settled scientifically. Sometimes Hollywood's biggest shock is not a secret finally exposed. It is a mystery that survives even after the courtroom doors close. Number 13. Future. By the time Future became one of Atlanta's hottest rappers, a chapter from his life before superstardom was already waiting for him in court. Jessica Smith, the mother of his son, Jacoby Wilburn, filed a paternity and child support case. In January 2013, DNA testing confirmed with 99.9% certainty that Future was Jacoby's father. The rapper agreed to legal recognition and monthly support. But the money battle was only beginning. Their first agreement required Future to pay $1,000 a month based on income he reported at roughly $16,500 monthly. Days later, Smith saw reports that Future had bragged about carrying at least $25,000 in cash. She returned to court, arguing that his real earnings were much higher and demanding increased support. Suddenly, the rapper selling an image of endless money was facing questions about what that wealth meant for his own child. Future pushed back against Smith's claims and sought more custody of Jacoby. By 2014, a new agreement raised his support payments to $2,800 a month, after court documents reflected significantly higher earnings. The private dispute had become another headline in Future's rapidly expanding celebrity life. Today, Jacoby is openly recognized as Future's eldest son, born in 2002 before the fame, platinum records, and luxury lifestyle arrived. That is what gives the story its emotional weight. Before Future became an icon to millions, he was already somebody's father. The DNA test settled biology in a courtroom, but the deeper question was always bigger. When success finally comes, how much of it should belong to the child who was there before the world knew your name? Number 14. Lil Wayne. October 2008 belonged to Lil Wayne. The Carter III had made him one of the biggest rappers in America, and at the BET Hip Hop Awards, he casually dropped a surprise that fans never expected. Wayne revealed that his first son was about to be born. Just days later, Dwayne Michael Carter III arrived in Cincinnati. At the peak of his career, one of hip-hop's loudest stars suddenly opened the door to a deeply private chapter of his life. The mystery grew because Wayne shared very little about the baby's mother. She was later identified as former radio personality Sarah Vivan. Unlike his daughter Regina, who had already been seen publicly, Dwayne III entered the world with almost no spotlight around him. But this was never a story of denial. Wayne acknowledged his son before the birth and slowly allowed fans to see more of him as he grew. Over time, Dwayne III, often called Toonie, became part of Wayne's public family life through photos and music-related appearances. The emotional twist is that Wayne grew up without a strong relationship with his biological father. yet became a father who often speaks proudly about his children. His son was never a scandal waiting to explode. He was a private joy revealed during the wildest year of Wayne's career.